The 70 AD siege of Jerusalem context of Matthew 24 is not mutually exclusive with the end time context of Matthew 24. Daniel 12, 1 through 2 references the resurrection occurring after the tribulation, and that is an end time context. And Matthew 24, 21 references the start of the tribulation, an end time milestone. And one point to be aware of is that some people who tried to convince you that Matthew 24 does not have any future contexts might also try to convince you that Daniel 9:27 does not have an Antichrist context. Specifically, those people might try to convince you that Daniel 9:27 does not reference the Antichrist eventually confirming a 7-year covenant and then committing the abomination of desolation halfway through the 7-year covenant. However, in Matthew 24:15, Jesus Christ explicitly mentioned Daniel 9:27 and its Antichrist context. Matthew 24:15 through 16. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. That is clearly an Antichrist context. And one thing to remember is that Judea is what we call the West Bank. Simply put, it appears that when the Antichrist commits the abomination of desolation, he will set off some angry Palestinians at the start of the 3.5-year tribulation. And remember that the end time context of Matthew 24 is not mutually exclusive with the 70 AD context of Matthew 24. The end time Antichrist will fulfill the 7-year confirmation of the covenant as per the end time context of Daniel 9:27. And the end time Antichrist will commit the abomination of desolation 3.5 years after the start of that 7-year confirmation of the covenant period. Scripture does prove these end time contexts. 2 Thessalonians 2:1 is a parallel passage of Matthew 24:30 through 31, and the phrase after the tribulation appears in Matthew 24:29. Those are end time passages. 2 Thessalonians 2:3 references the Antichrist. 2 Thessalonians 2:4 references the Antichrist going into the temple in the end time. Matthew 24:15 does reference an end time context of Daniel 9:27, and that end time context is 2 Thessalonians 2:4. And yet, the end time context of Matthew 24 does not negate the 70 AD context of Matthew 24. Some Matthew 24 context is in our past. Some Matthew 24 context is in our future. Jesus is the Messiah of Isaiah 9:6, exactly as declared in Luke 2:11.